Exercise 2, read that. Lambiance Plaza collapse. Lambiance Plaza was supposed to be a 16-story residential high-rise in Bridgeport, Connecticut, but on April 23 in 1987 it collapsed after 3 concrete floor slabs were placed and killing 28 and injuring 22. The original proposed budget for this project was $17.5 million. The concrete slabs were placed by hydraulical machines using the lift slab method. These slabs were then held in place by steel wedges temporarily until it was positioned correctly. Once correctly positioned, they were permanently attached to the steel columns. There were 2 shear walls located in each of the 2 towers that consisted of the building, with each one supposed to be providing lateral resistance for the entire building except for the top 2 floors. Rigid joints between the steel columns and the concrete slabs were used for the top 2 floors. And shortly after, workers were tack welding the temporary wedges under the 9th, 10th, and 11th floor labs. They heard loud metallic sounds followed by rumbling. The slabs then began falling on top of each other, with the weight becoming too much for the slabs and beams to halt. The entire half-finished building collapsed in just 5 seconds. And now it's important to mention that due to abnormally swift settlement agreement, the investigation of the collapse ended before an official determination of the cause could be concluded. But there are very well thought of and reputable theories that I will discuss in a bit. Right? And according to a New York Times article written back in 1987, OSHA found that there was a pattern of sloppy construction practices throughout the project and an overall sense of employer complacency for essential workplace safety considerations. Due to this, there were several players who were fined by OSHA. In total, the labor department imposed a $5.11 million fine, which was a record at that time. No charges were ever brought upon any of the players in this project disaster. The biggest player here, and the one that seems like has the most blame besides the primary contractor, was Techstar Construction. They were the subcontractor hired to lift and oversee all of the concrete slabs. Something to note, there were a previous incident that occurred before the collapse. Also, investigators discovered that prior to this incident, Techstar had similar problems when it comes to slab lifting. In March of 1986, at another building site in Connecticut, a shear wall failure caused the slab to fall 15 inches. Almost the same incident happened once before the collapse at the Lambiance site. Both times on-site repairs were done, but there was no investigation into why the lift system was falling. At that time, companies were only required to report incidents that resulted in 5 or more injuries or 1 fatality. However, OSHA claimed that the incidents should have been viewed as warning and cited. Techstar, which was the subcontractor and in charge of lifting the slabs for Quad 238, willful violations of a federal standard stating that their equipment used in concrete construction must be strong enough to carry 2.5 times the anticipated load. Investigators found 238 brackets that did not meet that requirement. And according to contract document, the contractor was responsible for a large amount of the structural design, including the structural frame involved in the lifting process, which left a lot of structural engineering, concept designs, disperses amongst different subcontractors and even subcontractors. What really happened was subcontractor A and subcontractor to the GC was responsible for design and construction of the structural frame that was used in lifting process. However, subcontractor A subcontracted the design and prep for the tendon drawings for the post-tensioning system to subcontractor B. The shop drawings were also prepared by subcontractor B, and those were also the only drawings that showed the arrangement and the number of post-tensioning tendons. Both the calculations and the shop drawings were supposed to be reviewed and then approved by a professional and registered engineer who would then mark it with an approved seal. The seal instead stated, quote, "Checking is only for general conformance with the design concept of the project and a general compliance with the information given in the contract documents. Only the contract drawings will be reviewed by an engineer and sealed with hand stamp." Subcontractor A also subcontracted preparation of the shop drawings. So now, due to unusually quick settlement agreements, like I mentioned before, the investigation was halted, and because of that there was never a defined answer as to what caused the collapse. There were many definitions that could have caused the collapse, but there are 5 competing theories as to what could have caused the collapse. And theory 1 states that an overloaded steel angle welded to a shaft head arm channeled deformed, causing the jack rod and lifting nut to slip out, and the collapse began. And theories 2, according to Thornton Tomasek, the engineer, states that the instability of the wedges holding the 12th floor and roof package caused the collapse. Theory 3, according to Schupak, Soros engineers, the improper design of the post-tensioning tendons caused the collapse. And theory 4, according to Osa, it was the questionable weld detail and substandard weld that could have caused the collapse. And the final theory is, according to Failure Analysis Associates, it was due to the sensitivity of Lambiance plaza to lateral displacement caused its collapse. And the final thoughts, although no criminal charges were ever filed in the Lambiance disaster, mediation resulted in a 41 million settlement for the families of the victims. In 1994, the government released a new safety regulation pertaining to the lift slab method of construction because of this disaster. To this day, the exact cause of the disaster remains a mystery, but from the research I've done, the results of numerous oversights from various subcontractors and the lack of detail from the contractor resulted in this terrible disaster that hopefully is never repeated. Here are my bibliographies, and thank you.